Andrew Himmer says time to recruit better players. Yeah, look, I think this is what you can really make the argument for the Scott Frost era. I think when he was at UCF, he had to do a good job at recruiting for the scheme and recruiting for what they wanted to do. When he got here to Nebraska, I think they kind of opened up the budget a little more. They had obviously a lot better budget. He was able to get a lot better recruits, and he just I don't know if it's that he didn't know how to recruit. I think really what it more or less was he just swung for the best athletes out there, not necessarily the best athletes that are going to fit what we do, right? And if you're not a good manager of young men and you can't put these guys in the right places to be successful and recruit for the sort of scheme you want to run, you can be the most talented team out there. You're just going to get you're just going to get out coached. And that's kind of what I feel like has kind of been happening here. Let's see here. This is another interesting point. This is something I've kind of been stamping my feet down at, very early on, right? And Gary Snyder said it best. This season is lost. Play the younger guys in the trenches. The key there is playing younger players. It's tough because you got a guy in Mickey Joseph who really cares about this program. You can tell he cares about it, man. He wants them to be successful. It's his alma mater. I would say he's probably more of an old school guy in a lot of his beliefs than Scott Frost was. Scott Frost was more of that sort of new, younger generation. And they're not that far apart as far as age. I think it's just their philosophy and their belief system. But yeah, I think it's going to be crucial that, you play the younger guys, you get them reps, you get them in here, in these games. And, we saw that. We saw Chubba Purdy come in today and mop up duty. He threw an interception, should have thrown probably another interception. It got dropped. And, the other side of it was, he had a sort of a garbage time touchdown, but, it's still good to get these guys in here and get them experience. Again, one of the things we talked about at the top of the broadcast was Gabe Ervin. He came in and he's the third string running back. And he still had, 60 yards. He still looked pretty good at times. Anthony Grant, he wasn't really able to get a lot going today, but I think that's simply because they kind of had to abandon the run game early on because we got down so big. Let's see here. This is a complete rebuild. Scott Frost never played or coached previously in the Big Ten. Designer offenses and defense just don't work in this league. Yeah, this is a physical league. This is a really, really, really physical league. These front sevens are just, they're totally different. I agree with you. They kind of go out and they kind of run, football is such a copycat league. And sometimes, people are trying to run or do or copy things that work and they just can't really do it all that well, right? Not necessarily what would be the best for us. I think personally, in my opinion, the best thing for us is it's not going to be the sexy offense or defense. It's going to be putting three like big grown men out there, like defensive linemen that are nose guards or defensive tackles on the field and letting them feast, not putting the pass rusher that can get back there and necessarily affect the quarterback, right? Because again, if teams can sit there and hand the ball off and get 6 yards a carry or 8 yards a carry on you, doesn't matter if you can get to the quarterback, if they can sit there and run the ball and then force you to get out of your assignment and then start play actioning you and move the ball down the field. It doesn't matter. And that's exactly like you're talking about, this designer offense and defense, right? It's frustrating because we don't have to be sexy to win. Again, on offense, we can sit back and we've got 3 or 4 really, really talented running backs. I would almost argue, and I don't know what you guys think, let's hear it. I would almost argue we have to do a better job we just have to do a better job at running the football. We can run the ball a hell of a lot better than we can pass block. And I think that's something we've been able to prove now and establish, even over the first, 4 games at this point. Let's see here. Let's see. This is a good one right here. Lynn Cooper says, do we keep Chin? Can he be a Mickey guy or just Frist? Our D is terrible. Or sorry, I'm assuming that means Frost there. Honestly, this is going to be a little bit interesting here, and I'll get into it, probably in the next question here. But I would say, based off this, not. I think one of the things that I kind of heard going into this week was, Eric Chenander. They kind of pulled him away from being more like over the entire defense, and they told him just to go focus on the secondary. So this week in practice, he wasn't covering the defense. He was more like position coaches were pretty much coaching their guys up, and it was more like that. I think Chenander probably won't be on this staff next year. He was a Scott Frost guy, and there's a lot of rumors and stuff like that right now that kind of don't really paint it all that great. I think Chenander was a holdover from the Scott Frost era. I certainly don't think he's going to be a Mickey Joseph staple, if you want my honest opinion on it. Let's see here. And we'll kind of get into this now. The focus for the next coach should be player development and identity. We have lacked that for almost 20 years. We did a couple of things really well from 1960 to 2003 and went away from that. Yeah. Look, I threw out some crazy names, a week ago for who I thought should be the coach. And I want to get away from that. I got a chance to really think about it this week. And, I think who we need to look at going forward, we need to kind of go opposite of what we did with Scott Frost. We don't need to go out. We don't need to hire an offensive guru, if you ask me. I think realistically what we need to do is we need to go out and possibly, if you want to go away from Mickey Joseph, right? And that's if you want to go away from Mickey Joseph, if he can't do enough, with the shot that he's kind of getting right here, his tryout, if you will. We need to look at maybe going with a defensive-minded coach, right? If you can bring in a defensive-minded coach, then there's a couple things that I think, would be pretty good. If you bring in a defensive-minded coach, you can let Mark Whipple come back for another year. You can probably keep Mickey Joseph as your wide receivers coach. You're going to probably be able to, if you keep those two, there's a good chance that you're going to be able to keep Casey Thompson, Anthony Grant. You're going to be able to keep a lot of these guys, right? And that would be a good thing, because again, if you start cleaning house, and I see some guys that are saying, it's time to clean house. I don't know, because again, it's how, that may be better for the long term, but you want to sort of see a little bit of stability. Again, I think that the program has an opportunity with a little bit of tweaks in the off season and, just a little bit different mentality in this and actually installing the right schemes for what we need to do and recruiting the right guys that fit those schemes and understanding that. I think this team can do an absolutely fantastic job and turn it around pretty quickly. But again, you go out and you hire a guy like Mark Whipple. Today really wasn't the day you'd want for him to have. What I was kind of looking for was I was looking for Whip to come out, and I was honestly looking for them to come out and absolutely light it up. I thought, man, that would be an awesome, because then the narrative is, well, Mark Whipple was being held back almost by Scott Frost, but that didn't necessarily happen today. And I think part of that was just because we really haven't played anybody yet. Between the three teams that we played, they just have not been good football teams, honestly. Arguably, Georgia Southern's probably the best team we played. And yeah, I think that's a big testament to why today was so lopsided. Honestly, is just it was a huge step up as far as who we were playing and everything like that. And that's a testament to Oklahoma. This game last year was a hell of a lot closer with Lincoln Riley as the head coach. And you look at a guy like Brent Venables, what he could arguably do at a program like Oklahoma as they look to transition into the SEC. They're more of a defensive-minded team now. And, they just happen to have a well-balanced offense that can be explosive at times. To me, that would be the benefit of going out and getting a defensive-minded coach into this program. Who that would be, I don't know. You know what I mean? I really don't know. I'd have to do a lot more research